the Atlanta Falcons, losing their star receiver in Julio Jones as he departs to Tennessee via a trade. But it's not all doom and gloom for Atlanta. They did get a second and a fourth round pick out of it. We will use that to our advantage in this video. Matt Ryan, he's definitely getting older. He's nowhere near as good as he used to be, and his contract is insanely expensive. There's some other questions that need to be answered. Calvin Ridley is the #1 receiver now. Can he actually perform at a #1 level, and can he dominate? New free agent signing Mike Davis, who was highly productive last season, filling in for McCaffrey after he was sidelined. Can he keep that momentum going as the true #1 back here in Atlanta? And how could we forget about the versatile weapon himself, the epic rookie, Kyle Pitts? Despite having a few stars in Deion Jones and Grady Jarrett, Falcons D has not been as efficient as they had hoped. Many positions are in need of being rebuilt, and there's also other questions like, can young players like AJ Terrell and Marlon Davidson develop into big contributors? Gonna answer all those questions in this video. Our journey begins now. For year one, I do need to mention that I cut the cost of the staff talent in half, just so we can get the feel of the effects of each talent as soon as possible. Just trying to make this super fun. I also decided to go with Team Builder for my first upgrade for my head coach. Wasn't really sure which one to go with here, but in hindsight, I think I probably should have gone Staff Builder, because in my humble opinion, that's probably the better option for the way I like to play. But I'd like you to meet Willie Hardigan. He's going to be the head coach that leads us to victory. That name is not remotely inappropriate. Don't think about it that way. And also, you might notice there's a new main hub. This event list here on the left-hand side helped guide me throughout this rebuild, which is appreciated. However, there was one small bug. I wasn't able to move this one specific box with the right stick. I suppose I missed a few details each week, but it was nothing game-breaking. And scrolling over, I can see the results of every single game in the league. I feel like this would be especially useful in an online league. The season recap is pretty nice. I can see the previous Super Bowl results from every Super Bowl ever played. That's going all the way back to like 1966. And it even features a few award winners from those years. I dig that. Now let's talk about weekly strategy. They're pushing this pretty hard in Madden 22. At first I was a little on the fence about it, but I think I like it. It was nice to get a little glimpse of my opponent's key players each week and focus down a strategy. But at first I was a little hesitant. I was a little nervous to commit a few of the strategies, specifically the passing ones, as a lot of the options feature negative effects on top of the positive. So I felt like the most conservative option was choosing the running the ball up the middle, since the negative effects of outside run blocking is the easiest to avoid when playing. Later on, I was a little bit more ambitious once I felt comfortable with how I like to play with my team on the field. Launching the deep ball was extremely fun to me, so gaining a boost in that was a must later on in this rebuild. It does feel like it's bordering on a little bit of overpowered at the moment, but hey, it's still pretty fun. However, I was flexible with my strategy when simulating games, mostly tried to target it to be more successful in the random scenarios I got and maximizing my staff points each week, which we will go talk about that right now. New feature this year is the coaching staffs and skill trees. As you can see, we got the head coach, offense, defensive coordinator, and a player personnel tree. And a closer look at each one, you can see that we start from the top going down. For the head coach trees, they feature some of the most valuable skills. However, it should be noted that each tree has a specific value and become more important depending on your play style. I feel it is more wise to stick with one main strategy than spreading out your points. And this is because most of the valuable skills are near the bottom of the tree. I'm also playing with like 2 times the amount of staff points you would typically get. So think about that throughout this rebuild and how long it would probably take you to max out some of these skill trees. I found the coordinator trees are great at maximizing your players' game day production now versus building them up over time. A lot of these skill upgrades boost ratings for specific positions. You gotta be careful here because you're only allowed to upgrade one side of the tree for certain ones. So my recommendation, if you're in win now mode, focus on the coordinator trees. And if you're trying to completely rebuild a team, which is what we're doing, we're gonna focus on player development, or my favorite skill tree out of all of them, and player personnel. So player personnel is important for someone looking to rebuild a team, as I just mentioned. Contracts will give you an edge in free agency, but I think the trading tree is way more valuable. You can get a discount on CPU draft pick trades. You can also get a guaranteed trade package every time you're looking to trade back in the draft. This will be a huge help when you're trying to build an elite team over time. Now, how do you get staff points? Well, there's a bunch of different ways. You can get them from scenarios, but the most consistent way is through your game day goals. With game day goals, you can select a specific goal to accomplish that week. Some of these are significantly more difficult than others. I recommend finding ones that fit your play style and game planning to maximize the amount of staff points coming in. Like, I would not recommend doing the shutting out opponents one. That is way less likely than getting around 450 yards. And as you can tell, you can split that in half. You don't even have to get the full one to get at least some staff points. They added some little mini cutscenes for scenarios in this one. Scenarios are not completely new to Madden, but it's nice to see different contexts and locations for them to occur. As you can see in this one, we're talking to the media. However, there were a few scenarios that I have not seen before in this video. I thought they were kind of cool, so stay tuned for those. This first one is pretty simple. It says opening day. What's our key to victory? Are we dominating offense, or are we going to try to have a stifling defense? And how do we go about doing that? My choices led me to this goal of beating the Eagles and allowing less than 200 yards. For the first season, I'm just trying to avoid being fired. So we'll go with the most conservative goal of 4 wins. And just because this is meant to be a fun rebuild, I'm going to avoid free agency for the most part because it's way more fun to build in the draft. Because we're so early in the season, we're going with full pads practice so we can get the highest boost possible. And at this point in the season, the negative effects of stamina and potential injury chance are not too high. Our initial focus players are going to be Kyle Pitts, Javian Hawkins, and Richie Grant. This is not the 3 guys I actually wanted. I just completely forgot to switch it up. We were victorious in our first game, but unsuccessful in our scenario goal. We were a little disappointed in our inability to stop the Eagles for throwing for 200 yards. However, we did get the W, so it was enough to get us an XP boost, along with some staff points. We probably failed in my poor defensive game planning for the situation. If I would have remembered that the scenario said stopping the pass, probably should have focused on that. Whoopsie. We were successful on offense with Mike Davis scoring 3 times on the ground. So my offensive game planning actually turned out to be pretty darn good. We finally got enough staff points for our first purchase. I decided to buy Eye for Talent. This way it makes it cheaper long term when purchasing on player personnel trees. I also purchased Draft Day every day, giving us a 2% discount on trading for CPU draft picks. Shockingly, we are 2-0, beating the defending champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Mike Davis has another multi-touchdown game. He's off to a great start, and we continue on purchasing in the player personnel tree. Next week, Harmon decides to test free agency, so we're going to need even more safety help. 2 exciting QB prospects, but we'll catch up with them later. And I also roast Matt Ryan for losing. I don't know why, it just made me laugh. A week later, we get a nice upgrade with Online 1, guaranteeing us a trade when we look to trade back in the draft. Now, this scenario I thought was pretty cool. Our assistant GM gives us a tip on a prospect named Kyle Thornton. Turns out this guy is a legend, and I've got a sneaking suspicion that this may lead to a hidden dev trade. For our bye week, I let the team rest, so that way we can boost morale and avoid injury. Also, I'm a sucker for my team liking me. Another depressing realization is Oloyakun. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I'm sorry if I was incorrect. He said he's going to test free agency as well. So we're losing another linebacker. Fantastic. And look at that. We're already at the bottom of the trade tree. But that's now being a smooth talker. We will try to make some big moves here in the draft. We had a rivalry game against the Saints, but we took the L, dropping us down a devastating 15 morale. Sheesh. With loss comes new opportunity against the Cowboys as we unlock a scenario. And you better believe we capitalize, getting that W and stealing their momentum. This momentum carried us to another win in a short week. We're rolling right now, 7-3, gaining XP and morale boosts all over the place. At this point, I'm fully committed to being an offensive-minded coach, choosing a boost for XP growth for offensive linemen. However, this comes at a price, as I cannot get the XP bonuses for defensive players. Jumping ahead to the final game of the season, the Bucs are 1 game ahead, giving us a small chance of making the playoffs if we win this game versus the Saints. So it cuts this scenario with Matt Ryan giving a pep talk in the locker room, and we get some boosted attributes to try and get it done. But unfortunately, Matt Ryan's speech didn't work, and we missed out on the playoffs. I am a happy coach, though. We won 10 games this season. That is way more than I expected us to win. And how about Mike Davis? He had a great season, rushing for over 1,000 yards, and he got 20 touchdowns as well. Matt Ryan performed pretty much as expected. He simply is not who he used to be. Calvin Ridley was all right. Can't really blame him for his lack of production, as he had some pretty poor QB play. Kyle Pitts was a similar story. It was okay for a rookie, but hope to see more of him in the future. On the defense, Deion Jones is still king. 120 tackles this year. We had a repeat of last year's Super Bowl, and the Chiefs ended up winning this time, but I lost the recording showing the results. Moving forward to the offseason, our cap situation is a nightmare. We literally have no ability to sign a single player. A lot of it has to do with Matt Ryan's enormous contract, and I've come to the conclusion there's really no way around it. We gotta release Matt Ryan. I wanted to keep him as a mentor for a QB for a season or two, but he's just way too expensive.
Screw you! You're fired!
So in the aftermath, we are now in the positive in terms of cap space, but it's still not enough to grab anyone of note in free agency. I think I might have accidentally re-signed Hayden Hurst for a little too much money, so I threw him on the trade block and actually got a bunch of offers for him. Decided to go with this one with the Titans. We get their 3rd and 5th round pick this year. Our team before the draft looks rough, but this is about to be our biggest rebuilding year so far. It's all up from here. As soon as we enter the NFL draft, we notice this devastating bug in the draft screen. I can't see anything but the light of God, so I'm gonna spend spare your eyes and show the draft from a different screen. However, it did stop that blinding light briefly for us to see that the Eagles drafted Cody James. He was the highest rated QB in this class, but I'm not worried. There's still an exciting scrambling QB on the board. So our pick is up, 18th overall in the first round. I recognize that the center George Tucker is probably the better player, but quarterback is the most valuable position in football. So we went with the QB of the future, David Reynolds. 4.57 40, best out of all QBs. He was also first in 3-cone and the 20-yard shuttle. The game says we reached, but I'm amped for this pick. Despite having normal development, I feel David has exceptional potential with his impressive athletic ability. Look at the 89 speed. I love it. Thanks to the Julio Jones trade, we have back-to-back picks here in the second round, and we take full advantage of these picks by selecting the prospect suggested by our assistant GM and Kyle Thornton. And he turns out to be just as epic as we hoped. Hidden dev trade and all. This guy's crazy talented, and it's clear we can develop him into a pass coverage linebacker in no time. Making him a scheme fit, he'll be a perfect duo alongside Deion Jones for many years to come. The pick right after, we select George Tucker, who thankfully was still available at this point in the draft. George is another home run, 77 overall with hidden dev trade as well. Another player that I'm hoping will become a star on this team. My third round pick was alright. We picked up this slot corner in Keith Fairley, clearly needs some time to develop, but I selected him as a depth player, and from what I could tell, he was the best player available at the time, so I don't completely hate the pick. The pick right after is another one from the Titans in that Hayden Hurst trade, and with this pick, I wanted to select the best player available once again. I ended up going with this wide receiver, Sean Brayton. Turns out to be a pretty good pick. 71 overall, number 57 in true talent. Got him at number 83. A nice speedy deep threat, adding even more weapons for our rookie quarterback. And by this point in the draft, I gave up drafting for a specific position need and just took whatever was intriguing. So with our fourth round pick, we took this halfback, Devin Dansby. He looked like a fun power back, number 64 in true talent, got him at 114, a W in my book. Everyone after that was pretty forgettable, so we'll just move on. Overall, I thought it was a successful draft. A lot of these guys will be stars in the future, and I can't wait to see how they develop. And Cody James may have higher initial ratings, but with him and Reynolds being the only two QBs of note in this draft, I'm sure they'll have a strong NFC rivalry for the rest of their career. We begin year 2 with a nice surprise. I thought this one was kind of cool, so I'll let it play out so you can see it as well.
When DeMarcus Ware was selected 11th overall in the 2005 NFL Draft, he became the first Troy University player to ever be chosen in the opening round. Now, 17 years later, he's the first Trojan to be inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. His 138.5 sacks ranked 9th all-time in NFL history. And his 9 Pro Bowl selections are tied with fellow legends like Walter Payton, Ed Reed, Derek Thomas, and John Elway. Now, DeMarcus joins them in the Hall of Fame.
I really dig that they showed that, and how it impacted the world. It took me almost an entire season, but I'm finally ready to make a move. And I traded away Dante Fowler due to his overpriced contract. We got Darrell Davis and a second-round pick out of the deal. In free agency, we also signed Leonard Floyd for a pretty cheap contract. He's just going to be a band-aid for that linebacker position for a year or two. Season goal was conservative once again. I don't feel like our team got much better this season, and we're starting a rookie QB, so I wanted to play it safe as I'm pretty much afraid of being fired. This was the first time jumping into gameplay during my entire playthrough, and this is my first time playing Madden 22, so I want to play this intro in full so you can see the new presentation.
It's the National Football League on EA Sports, and we've got a showdown in the NFC South. It's the Panthers and the Falcons, and it's coming up next on Madden NFL 22.
It's the National Football League presented by EA Sports. The scene a few moments ago, here it is. It's unlike any other in sport as both teams made their way out of the tunnel. These folks are fired up as their guys are ready to do battle between the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons. With my good friend Charles Davis, I'm Brandon Gaudin, and Charles, we have arrived at another new season. Had a little more pep in my step this morning. I know you did as well. Here we go.
Yeah, when you went out for your 5-mile jog, you were flying. You did it in record time because you were psyched up about this game. But let's be frank about it. No more radio shows, no more podcasts, no more just predicting what's going to happen. Now we get to see it on the field.
I do like the warm-up animations and them running out of the tunnel, and after playing a few games, I noticed the intros aren't always the same. However, during certain situations, the announcers would repeat the same commentary. For example, they make this lame joke about Godden's 5-mile run every time I started a new season. I didn't find it particularly funny the first time, so you can imagine how I felt about it the 5th time around. Anyways, David Reynolds' NFL debut. He showed some flashes of greatness, improvising well and showcasing his arm strength and ability to throw on the run.
There was a lot of zip on that pass. On 1st and 10, Reynolds.
We also get some of these crispy toe tap animations here on the sidelines, and you already know I'm a sucker for when the crowd reacts to the game. Hell yeah.
Relax just a little bit, they huddle up, talk it over, then they get a chance to continue their drive.
Got a man that's caught inside the 10.
I do like the replays in this game. However, I used to work as a cameraman for ESPN back in the day, so seeing the replays breaking the 180 rule a bunch, it's kind of tough. But this is a video game, they can place the camera wherever they please, even impossible angles. So I'll let it slide in cases when they show a really cool angle, like the feet on the sidelines. During the halftime presentation, we see the other rookie QB, Cody James, having an amazing debut, leading his team to 5 touchdowns and 52 points. Same thing with Justin Fields, Chicago legend already. Coming back from halftime, we adjust our strategy to throwing short and defending the medium pass.
Now we get a peek at the captain of this offense heading back out there. He's showing off that arm, showing it off very well. They've got the lead. Don't forget, though, about the protection he's had. The protection's been good.
And I'll guarantee you he hasn't forgotten about it at all, because that's keeping him clean in the pocket, allowing him to step into throws and make those deep passes come true. I mean, it's just been beautiful.
I will give credit to the presentation this time. They made a good point about how good our blocking was in the first half. And they did this while showcasing plays that actually matched the description. But back to the gameplay, Reynolds started scrambling like a bad man.
And he will slide. Reynolds. Flush to his right. And now look at this. Big gain, but a fumble. And the Panthers have recovered. Right back to him for 20 and a first.
Trying to mount a comeback in the final minute, he ended up throwing an interception.
And, a crusher there as it's intercepted. Dante Jackson picks it. And a big turnover there as his guys will get the football back. When the rookie QB gets his first touchdown pass, that's one you put in the trophy case. First career interception, that's going to be one he wants to forget.
Yeah, and he's not going to go ask for the football, right? No. Yeah, you can keep that one. The key for him, what does he learn from it?
Pretty tough way to lose your first game, and you can clearly see his frustration as he walks off the field. Still a lot to work on, but David Reynolds, he's showing promise. Later on, we managed to capture a major upgrade in the final piece. That's the one that makes all our players on our team count as scheme fits during training. This is huge because guys like David Reynolds will now be getting extra XP each week, developing them even faster. We're able to re-sign the superstar Calvin Ridley for the next 4 years. Kyle Pitts is developing nicely, and I make a bold decision to not re-sign Grady Jarrett. I ended up trading him to the Jets for Carl Lawson and a first-round pick. So already finding a solid replacement with a cheaper contract and getting a great pick on top of it. About halfway through the year, David Reynolds and our offense were playing so well, they got a massive morale boost. We re-signed Chris Lindstrom and Mike Davis, who definitely earned it after last year's performance. Way to go, Mike Davis. We also upgrade after-school tutoring, gaining an extra focus player in training. One of the most valuable upgrades, as I mentioned earlier. Now we have 4 spots of people to focus train each week, and soon we'll max that out at 6 players. After losing a game in the rain, we still managed to get enough staff points to unlock concentration, which boosts catching for wide receivers and tight ends by 5. It's a major W in my book. Oh, and we're not done yet. Calvin Ridley unlocked Superstar X Factor, making him the first and only one we've had so far in this rebuild. I decided to go with Double Me because it's absolutely broken. At regular season's end, we finished 10-7, just barely sneaking into the playoffs as the 7 seed. Investigating the statistics, we see that David Reynolds has an outstanding rookie campaign. Much better than I could have ever dreamed. 3,500 passing yards, 34 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions. Mike Davis, another terrific year, 1,000 yards on the ground once again. Wide receiver production was pretty good and spread out amongst the top 3 guys, Ridley, Pitts, and Gage. And by the way, Deion Jones is still elite. 140 tackles. Kyle Thornton, he was pretty good in his rookie year. 90 tackles. My disappointment cannot be overstated when I realized that Cody James won Rookie of the Year over David Reynolds. Curse you, Cody James. Heading into my first playoff game, it appears to be a blizzard, which I thought was cool the first time seeing this scenario, but throughout this rebuild it kept happening almost every time I played a playoff game, which I guess is fair to think there's going to be snow during the playoffs. But seeing the same scenario pop up over and over kind of killed the novelty of it for me. With that being said, I must say the snow looks pretty good in this game. How it towers on the corners of the stadium and the walls, and how players leave footprints in the snow after running in it. I dig that.
This is what I'm talking about. NFL playoffs at Lambeau Field with a snowstorm camped out over the upper Midwest. Let's go. It's time for some great football in Green Bay. Straight ahead, it's Wild Card Weekend, and we've got a great one in store between the Atlanta Falcons and the Green Bay Packers.
Gotta admit, I love a good flyover, and this one was no exception. This game was a fun battle. Rodgers showed why he's a Hall of Famer by dominating my defense. David Reynolds tried his best to keep up scrambling around.
Reynolds steps up, and he'll take it into the end zone. Touchdown, Atlanta. A Sports. And he's got it. It's caught for a Packers touchdown. Yard line. They'll stick with the passing game as he looks to throw. This to Pitts, and he's got him. Touchdown, Atlanta.
I also like how Pitts tried to jump in the crowd after scoring a touchdown, but immediately gets denied. In the end, David's stellar play wasn't enough, and we lose 35-21. The Super Bowl matchup this year was the Seahawks and Bengals. Cincy gets it done. Way to go, Cincy. Joe Burrow takes Super Bowl MVP. Our team going into this draft needs a lot of help, especially at safety, defensive tackle, backup tight end, and heck, even a fullback if you got one. We got the number 2 talent in strong safety Brian Reed at pick 15, and then the number 7 talent in wide receiver Derek Beasley. I mean, we didn't need another wide receiver, but this man is good. After that, I wised up and got the defensive tackle Tremaine McCann. Excellent pick. Hidden dev trait and number 17 in true value at number 47. A few picks later, we got a good addition at tight end in Zach Lawton, number 15 in true talent at number 54. The 7th round, we found ourselves a true legend, an ode to the great Tom Adamo and Edward Cousins. Number 28 in true talent, and we got him at number 214. That's insane. Man can block, man can run, making fullbacks great again. I couldn't be more proud. So we didn't really get any world beaters in this class per se, but these additions still help us improve to that next level. And we take a peek at the rest of this class, we see a couple of good QBs, but what I found really impressive was this running back, BJ McDougal. Going back to our team, that right tackle spot is definitely glaring at me for neglecting it in this draft. But hey, the defense is improving. Just don't look at left outside linebacker. We begin year 3 with another cool retirement scenario. Love Darrelle Revis, especially after playing with the Jets and head coach 09 recently. I flexed my staff abilities by training 6 players at once, making my young players truly destined for greatness. Arlen Davidson breaks out in training camp, but is ultimately unsuccessful, so no permanent boost for him unfortunately. Kyle Pitts is almost 90 overall, closely becoming a top 5 tight end in the league. By this point, my offensive coordinator tree is maxed out, so our offense is extremely powerful, at least on paper. We only have a few minor things to upgrade in the head coach and defensive coordinator trees. And as you can see, Reynolds, he's still showing the world he is what the Browns wish they got in Johnny Manziel.
Operating from the gun, Reynolds. And he's into the end zone for the touchdown and a game winner in OT.
I gotta say, I'm a little disappointed with the reaction of the players here. The announcer's response was alright, but the players just kind of casually jogged off the field. Kind of killed the mood for me a bit. I'd like to see the players react more appropriately to such a hype win in that moment. We were able to re-sign Deion Jones and AJ Terrell at the same time, keeping our defensive stars for the long haul. Quickly skipping to the end of the season now, as our staff trees are mainly maxed out, and our goal is no longer development at this point, but ring chasing. We made the playoffs once again at 10-7. We are the 5 seed, and the wild card matchup for us is extremely exciting. We're facing David Reynolds' draft rival in Cody James and the Eagles. Reynolds did have a dip in production this year, but this is more the level that I expected of him when I drafted him, to be honest. Mike Davis had a major drop in rushing yards. I don't know how this happened. Don't know if he was hurt or what. Surprisingly, Russell Gage led us in receiving yards, and Calvin Ridley still the leader in touchdowns. Kyle Pitts, very good as well. Defense had some okay performers. Brian Reed, solid rookie year. We weren't up for a single award this year. No one had any big numbers or anything. However, our roster looks pretty strong going into these playoffs. Most positions are in the green, and we have a ton of playmakers in a variety of positions. Finally, game time against Cody James. The battle between him and Reynolds is stuff of legend.
Well, you folks at home can see the evidence. Snow and supposedly a few inches yet to fall here at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Tonight we continue with Wild Card Weekend with what should be a great one between the Atlanta Falcons and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Like right here, we get the best of James. He coughs up the football on 1st and goal. It's a pivotal turnover in this game. Unexcitingly, this was the only highlight I got of this game, but we get the W, 28-16. I like how I built up this rivalry just to have one play. But whatever, let's continue. Next round, we are once again facing the Saints. This game really solidified Reynolds as the playoff king. This man's dropping dimes deep. Calvin Ridley also is a monster here in the postseason.
Waiting for this game. It's been a long evening as well. Finally, they feel they got a call.
Escaping the pressure right. But he's going to get this down to the 35-yard line. 36 yards on the play.
And then he slips out the back door and turns it into a nice gain.
And 2nd and 10, he'll look to throw again. This is caught. Touchdown. The grounding call, and it's quickly 2nd and long. He's going to go deep for Beasley. And got his man. Complete. Touchdown, Falcons. Press is starting to get those T-shirts and hats ready, my friend.
They have to, Brandon. They have to be ready because...
Reynolds is still a legendary underdog. Love this kid. And at this point, Kyle Pitts is one of the best tight ends in the league. And with just a little bit better blocking, he would undoubtedly be number 1. A.J. Terrell has developed quietly into a top 10 cornerback with 96-man coverage. Russell Gage also is a nice contributor with that 99 catching. The NFC Championship is against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks.
EA Sports coverage of the NFL playoffs brings us to the Pacific Northwest, the home of the 12s, as it's called, CenturyLink Field in Seattle. Coming up, it's a battle to represent the NFC in this year's Super Bowl, and we've got a classic in store between the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks. But it'll be 2nd down. He's going to loft one deep over the middle. It's caught inside the 25. Touchdown, Falcons. Throw the football. He gave that everything he had, and it was right on the money. Throwing on 1st down. Reynolds airing it out, looking for Ridley. And this is caught. Touchdown, Falcons. Is up to the task. Again, he'll drop to throw. He's going to have the hook up to Gage. Touchdown. They'll try and throw for it with Wilson.
Late in the game, the Seahawks are driving down, and they have this devastating illegal touching penalty.
Metcalf, he's got it. And he takes it inside the 10 to the 8 before he's out of bounds. 10. Back to throw. He'll let this go for the end zone. And this is caught. Touchdown. And they've taken the lead here in the final minute. The Falcons are Super Bowl bound. Time for us to sign off. Thanks for watching, and good night.
Super Bowl Media Day. I tell these reporter chumps that it would mean everything to me to win it all, because it would. One final scroll through our staff tree, we see that everything that can be unlocked is. Before we begin the big game, I wanted to pay respects to our elders and signing Matt Ryan so he can get a Super Bowl ring if we win. Man, is that wholesome or what?
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
EA Sports coverage of the National Football League is on the air. Tonight, it's all on the line. We play for the Lombardi Trophy, as it'll be the AFC champion Baltimore Ravens taking on the champions from the NFC, the Atlanta Falcons. Brandon Gaudin along with Charles Davis, and what a season it's been for our AFC champions. I mean, this was a fight just to get to the Super Bowl. You got to figure that they are very battle-tested and ready.
I'll be honest, this Super Bowl was about as ugly game as that Super Bowl between the Rams and Patriots a few years ago. Not much offensive action.
And he's going to be taken down with the first down.
Reynolds did make a few plays here and there, but it led to a lot of field goals, and he also made some big mistakes.
Now the ball comes loose, and it's picked up by the Ravens. And his guys will take over at the edge after back-to-back punts.
Bounced back pretty quickly, though, with this monster throw downfield.
Through the air.
That's caught inside the 20. And they're going to have this up 4th down. And McManus able to put it through his half. And Jackson throwing once more. To the end zone.
He's pretty fortunate. They didn't call for grounding on this one. That's a good 10 feet.
Later on, Kyle Pitts shows the world his greatness by grabbing the first touchdown of the game for us.
With a first touchdown of this Super Bowl and a long one at that. And the Falcons have regained the lead in the second half of this Super Bowl.
A good tight end is a heck of a weapon for any quarterback, especially when you're able to create some mismatches. Sometimes they work against a linebacker, sometimes they work against a smaller defensive back.
In the third quarter, we get this QB sneak in for 6.
He's over for the touchdown. In their third quarter lead here in this Super Bowl. Well, this offense only mustered 3 points in the first half on that field goal. They picked up the pace now. 2 third-quarter touchdowns.
17-12, fourth quarter, 2 minutes left. Ravens are driving down, and we get this lucky tip interception.
Picked up by Richie Graham.
Well, there definitely was some juice on that pass. And while tight ends don't always have the same reputation for hands as wide receivers do, in this case, that ball was expected to be caught.
And now it's our job to just run the ball, kill some clock, and we do just that.
It's a first down and goal for Davis.
Easily the most important play of his career.
17-yard line. A big pickup of 38.
We exhaust all of Baltimore's timeouts, kick a field goal with 50 seconds left, and then their last desperation throw.
The lead, fourth quarter. Maybe can expect more passes like that downfield. He's going to let it fly.